Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, January 13th, 2014. Excuse me. And I want to wish anybody here at the Shaggy Daphne forums, if you will, Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a good one, if you will. Yeah, but Happy New Year's to everybody here at the Shaggy and Daphne fans hangout forums, especially the Shaggy and Daphne hints section. So, Happy New Year to all of you. But, here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I look back on here, on these forums, I came and I visited. And there's a new, we've had several new members. One of them is AIO Saga. AOI Saga. AOI Saga. And, you know, and obviously, as I'm reading right now, there are some people that haven't been here in a while. Of course, I'm one of them. But I figured, if this goes now, first of all, if this goes a little long, I apologize. But I figured, might as well kind of come out and explain to some of the new people, and kind of help refreshing maybe some other people that haven't been here in a while. What exactly probably this forum is. Why it's called Shaggy and Daphne Hang Out, and mostly why this section of it is called Hints. Well, you see, ever since 1983, 84, Hanna-Barbera, the original creators of Scooby-Doo, presented a new show called the all-new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo Show. And this featured, yes, Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Scrappy. But it also featured the return of Daphne Blake. Now, Daphne had not been seen in a Scooby-Doo cartoon since about 1978, 1979, 1980 at the most. Excuse me, I got the sniffles here. But like I said, she had not been seen in any Scooby-Doo cartoon for that long. So when they decided to bring her back in 1983 and later on 1984, the reason being is they wanted to, the reason being, in my opinion, is they wanted to show that you could have a female lead. A female could be a leader of a group, if you know what I mean. Anyway, also she was brought back, in my opinion, due to popular demand. Seeing as though, if you look back then, even look now, the two most popular human characters out of the show were, of course, Shaggy and Daphne. So it's quite obvious why a lot of people enjoyed them, and quite obvious, in my opinion, why she was brought back. I think also, in a sense, and I've mentioned this before, she was brought back because it was to attract the young female viewers, the young girls viewers, to watch the show. Because mostly at that time, after the Scooby-Doo show and Laugh Olympics and all that, sort of after that time, you just had Scooby-Doo cartoons that were kind of like, they were basically presented kind of like Looney Tune shows or Looney Tune shorts. It's like you had 7-minute shorts, 7-minute cartoons for each episode. And even though that was getting over, it wasn't getting it as over as pretty much Hanna-Barbera was hoping it would. So they decided to abandon that, go back to the original formula, but, in my opinion, realize that they need to do it in a way that's more contemporary, more modernized for that time. And the more contemporary, modernized way of doing it was to just add Daphne Blake in, because when you take a look at Fred Jones or Velma Dinkley, yeah, you could have added either one of them into the mix as well, or brought them back entirely. But it's like when you looked at them from that standpoint back in the 80s, they just didn't fit that modern era. They didn't fit the times. Daphne did, believe it or not. Obviously, Daphne fit that modern era. She fit that modern time. So, with Daphne fitting that modern era, that modern time, if you will, with her fitting that mold, it made the show more contemporary, more modernized. And again, it brought in, I think, also the fact, it also brought in the young female viewer. And also because, like Shaggy, in my opinion, she was brought back because obviously they did something like a poll or something, in my opinion. I think they did some kind of voting, and they realized that she was the more popular one among the fans. But, that in mind, this is exactly why these forums are here, why sections and message boards like this, and why even groups over at DeviantArt are created. And even why people here on YouTube, enjoy, talk about them as well. You see, basically what, in the eyes of many fans, including myself, what 1983 to basically 1987 did with Shaggy and Daphne is establish them not just as a team, a reporting, mystery-solving team, but also establish Shaggy and Daphne as a couple. I know that sounds crazy. But basically that was what was established. I mean, and there are several hints that were pointed out. Like, in No Thanks, Mr. Manx, or No Thanks, Masked Manx, you have Daphne taking Shaggy to see her family, or meet her family again. Or to meet her family, basically. And you have the father approving of Shaggy, in a sense. When did we see her do that with Fred? Never. Unless you want to count Mystery Incorporated. But, for anybody that's new to this, nobody counts Mystery Incorporated. They say that's a different canon. That's like an alternate universe. So, they don't really count that, nor do they count anything that's come after this series, or come after this run. The only thing that they do count is the hints that are thrown about. Then, believe it or not, there are several hints that are thrown about, in the newer movies and shows. But the point is, what happened between this run of 83 to 86 is, or 87 I should say, is established in the eyes of many fans that what Hanna-Barbera wanted to do. Hanna-Barbera basically had established that Shaggy and Daphne were a couple in the eyes of many fans. Because of, like I said, what the situation with her introducing Shaggy to her parents, her going to Shaggy's sister's wedding, things like that. And they even say that there were some hints even before then, and that is true. In several episodes of Scooby-Doo show, and I think even Scooby-Doo movies and stuff like that, and even when they began, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? When that first began, there were several hints. There were several hints in the eyes of some. But again, the reason Daphne was brought back when she was to give the show a more modernized, contemporary feel. Now, as we got into 1984 and 85, which was the second season of the all-new Scooby-Doo show, but was renamed The New Scooby-Doo Mysteries, that's when things changed a little bit. Yes, Daphne and Shaggy was still looked at in the eyes of many fans, including myself, as a couple. But this is also where you started getting the guest appearances by the other Mystery Inc. gangs. You got them with the first episode, Happy Birthday Scooby-Doo. You got them in several other episodes, like A Night Louse at the White House with Velma. You got them with about 2 times with Fred. And you got him about 2 times with Fred in the Sherlock episode, as well as the Nutcracker Scoob. And then, of course, you got one with the Amazon situation, where they were right there at the beginning. Right there at the beginning, they were all together as if it was a regular episode, if you know what I mean. And of course, you also had a majority episode with a Halloween hassle at Dracula's castle, or whatever it was. So you had all of those, and people did enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed them because it was only once in a while. It was like every 4, maybe 5, maybe 4 episodes, maybe 3, 4 episodes, you would have a member of Mystery Inc., if not both members, show up. So I was okay with that. It really wasn't like shoved down our throats as being, hey, this is a rebirth of Mystery Inc. It wasn't shoved down our throats. It was like occasionally. So that kind of made it good. And then the following season, you had a new show called 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. And you want to talk about modernizing and contemporizing the characters. This is where Shaggy got his red t-shirt and blue jeans, and Daphne got more of what people consider an almost a hybrid of Debbie, kind of a hybrid of both Debbie from Speed Buggy's look, as well as the overall look from April O'Neil, even though Ninja Turtles didn't come out until about a year or so later. Well, the cartoon, that is. But still, in the eyes of some, you had that Debbie kind of April O'Neil contemporary redesign for Daphne. So yeah, Daphne had a redesign, believe it or not, to give her more of a contemporary feel. And then, of course, with 13 Ghosts, you had several hints there that they were a couple. You had Shaggy knowing where Daphne is ticklish. You had them embrace a little bit after she was turned back to normal from being a werewolf. You have them basically in the same house, if you will, living in the same house. And it's like, how many more hints do you need, including the hints that you got in the previous 2 seasons? None. And basically, in the eyes of a lot of fans, this is what Hanna-Barbera wanted to do. They wanted to establish Shaggy and Daphne as a couple. But something changed, and they basically 13 Ghosts was the last time that was ever referenced or ever even acknowledged, and they went in an entirely different direction with a pup named Scooby-Doo, and later on. Now, some people might say, well, in a pup named Scooby-Doo, they kind of hinted at it as well, but that's supposed to be when they're kids, so some people either count it or they don't count it, and there's some that don't. But still, there were some hints in the eyes of some. But the point is, this is why, for anybody that's new, this is why this group, when I discovered it and found out about it, this is why this group, this forum, this portion of the message board, if you will, here at fanfiction.net, as well as some places at DeviantArt, why they're dedicated to Shaggy and Daphne, because of all the hints. And they also look at them as being the best opposite pairing that you can get. I mean, even later on, like I mentioned, with What's New Scooby-Doo, and then later on with some of the movies, there's several hints. In fact, the biggest hints, if you will, come in movies like Legend of the Phantasaur, which, according to some, is probably the biggest hint you're ever going to get. It with them possibly being attracted and being a couple. And then the beginning of Music of the Vampire, well, she comes up on top of the roof with Shaggy and Scooby and starts singing with them. So, to a lot of people, a lot of fans, these are the kind of hints that still give them hope that sooner or later somebody at Warner Bros. Is going to wake up and say, you know what, let's reboot this series again. And this time, instead of focusing on focusing on Fred and Daphne as a couple, let's make it more towards Shaggy and Daphne. You know, that's what they hope for, and that's what they hope to get. You know me, honestly, I hope to see it too, but one never knows. One never knows, folks. But the point is, this is why again, I know I sound like a broken record, but this is why the groups like this are made. You know, because they're trying to send out a message as strong as they can, as best as they can, that they would rather see Shaggy and Daphne together as a couple than they would Fred and Daphne. Because the only reason you got Fred and Daphne nowadays is to coincide with that more, I guess you could say, modernized, Prince Charming, you know, princess kind of pairing. And that doesn't work. It doesn't really work. You know, Fred is no Prince Philip. Fred is no Aladdin. Fred is no Simba, if you will. You know, things like that. He's no Eric. Let's put it that way. Fred Jones is Fred Jones, and he's a good character. Don't get me wrong. He's got his good moments, some bad, some good. He's got his share of good moments. But it's just too obvious. And it's just too obvious that when you have someone like him on the team and you have someone like Daphne, that it's going to happen, that they're going to end up together. It's just too obvious, and that is why fans were always happy and supportive, always happy and supportive of Daphne and Shaggy when that happened, because it's like Shaggy's not Fred Jones. He's more along the lines of an Aladdin, if you will. He's more along the lines of an Aladdin, of a Quasimodo, that he just needs the right person to be around him. And there you go. He's kind of like, let's say, if you want to use a good similarity, he's kind of like a Ron Stoppable in Kim Possible. You know, for years, fans were always clamoring for Disney to put these two together. And yeah, you got a hint of that in A Very Possible Christmas. You got a strong hint of that, even though it was through manipulation and emotion sickness. But still, you had a hint of that. And then when you got to the finale, or what originally was supposed to be the finale, So the Drama, which basically led into a demanded fourth season, or demanded final season, you know, you had fans clamoring for it. And finally, and like I said, in So the Drama movie, and mostly in throughout the fourth season, they got what they wanted, because Disney, whether you like Disney or not, they at least acknowledged that this is what fans wanted, and they want to see more of it. And that's what they're hoping Warner Brothers does. Warner Brothers and whoever's in charge of the Hanna-Barbera divisions, you know, that's what they're hoping they do. They're like, okay, people want to see ... They want to see Shaggy and Daphne together. How do we do that? And the honest answer, believe it or not, is another reboot. That's what I'm thinking. And with the hints, or not the hints, but with the rumors going out that the next theatrical Scooby-Doo movie, this is just rumors, the next theatrical Scooby-Doo movie might be animated and possibly traditionally 2D animated. What better opportunity do you have than that? What better opportunity? You don't have a better opportunity than that. And to me, that's exactly why fans still hold out hope. That's why they still hold it out. And that's why groups like this are made. Forums and message boards like this are made. Because they want Shaggy and Daphne together. Some people may not agree with it, and that's fine. That's their right to opinion. But this is why they want it. But you see, this is why fans want it, though, because you have that opposite of attractiveness. You have similarities in many ways. I mean, you go back to even the new Scooby-Doo movies and stuff like that. You have Daphne sort of on that same level of, hey, it's a ghost, it's haunted, I want out of here kind of deal, like Shaggy. I mean, there's even an episode, I think it was Don Adams or something like that, where he wanted a vote of hands of those that thought the house was the place they were in was haunted or not. And Daphne puts her hand up along with Shaggy and Scooby. You see, this is what fans look at. They look at these kind of hints. And then, like I said, you take a look at movies like Legend of the Phantastor and Music of the Vampire and stuff like that. You have these hints that people like. And all they want is something that will be officially confirmed. And to me, I believe someday it's going to happen. Someday, somebody at Warner Brothers and that Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo division, they're going to be like, look, fans want to see these characters together. They want to see them together. They want to see them as a pairing, and it needs to happen. And like I said, they probably have a huge opportunity coming up if the theatrical 2D animated film becomes a reality and not just a rumor. But this is why people like me do support Shaggy and Daphne, because of these hints. And I will admit, I've mentioned this before, I do understand why Fred and Daphne are together. I mentioned it earlier. But still, as time goes on, time is going to change. Disney itself has proven things can change. Warner Brothers at times has proven things can change. So, to me, I think it's just a matter of time, and I think that timing is going to be a lot sooner than we think. So, that's basically what I'm going to say. Hopefully that updated some fans that are new to this to why the forums like this are created, why message boards and groups are created based around this, and why fans support Shaggy and Daphne as a couple. Comment down below, and I'll talk to you later. God bless. Take care.